Good morning, everyone. Today is Saturday, June 13th, 2020. I'm Karen Bodenschatz. I serve as Associate Pastor at First Lutheran Church in Onalaska, Wisconsin. Tomorrow, we'll be hearing a rather long reading from Matthew, the chapters of 9 and 10, parts of those chapters. And as I preach, I will be focusing on verses 36 to 38 of chapter 9. When Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like a sheep without a shepherd. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into God's harvest." I'd normally give you a tidbit or two that didn't make it into the sermon as a way to get you thinking about the reading. But today, I want to tell you about one of those few laborers that Jesus is talking about. Her name was Karen Safstrom, and she died suddenly this week of a bilateral pulmonary embolism, and she was my friend. When I went to seminary, I was determined not to be the shy, awkward, fearful person I had been up to that point in my life. New social situations terrified me, and here I was, moving across the country and joining a whole new group of people that I was sure would be better than me. I would wake up every morning and give myself a pep talk about being brave and confident and initiating conversations. I would practice questions that I could ask people to keep conversation going. I was meeting the group of people who would be instrumental in my formation as a person and as a pastor. Although I don't know that I would have said it quite that way at the time. I was just meeting a whole bunch of new people. So one of the ways that I was being brave in that moment was I created a flyer. I was the queen of flyers. This was long before anything digital. But I created a flyer of sorts inviting people to dinner. And I cannot remember if it was dinner in my place or dinner out. I don't remember. But one door I slipped this invite under was the door of Karen Safstrom. She was super smart. I thought I should know that lady. So Karen and I were in many ways complete opposites. She was from Massachusetts. I was from California. She was a pharmacist before she came to seminary. I was a musician. She was, and I say this with all love and respect, the crunchiest hippie I had ever met. She wore Birkenstocks. Like nobody I ever knew wore Birkenstocks other than perhaps to be a little, snooty and a fashion statement. I had never known an actual hippie that wore Birkenstocks. And I could not have been more suburban beach girl. She loved folk music. I was more into pop and country. I'm sure the list is longer, but we were both named Karen, and we were both in seminary trying to figure out this pastor thing. Karen would become, for me, my closest friend in seminary, and as influential in my growth as a person of faith as any of my professors. Karen lived her faith with what seemed like such ease. The things I so struggled with were things that she had already figured out. And because she was so kind and patient, she walked with me as my understanding of God and myself was dismantled and then put back together again. Karen taught me what it meant to care for the environment by the way she lived. I had no idea. It went beyond recycling. I remember learning that she wouldn't use the dryer for her clothes because it wasted too much energy. I didn't know. And And while I still use my dryer, because I can't quite go there, her actions pushed me to figure out what it looks like for me to follow God's commandment to love creation. Karen had love all people figured out long before I did. By watching her, by talking with her, I learned what this truly means and how it's enacted. And as I was learning that I was loved by God no matter what, Karen was teaching me what it meant to love the people that I encounter and serve. She helped me grow in my understanding of stewardship as the heart of the life of the follower of Jesus. I was terrified of it, never wanted to talk about it, but not Karen. I remember in my first call, I was having to figure out a way to talk about stewardship with a group of people who didn't want to talk about stewardship. And the first person I called was Karen. As I look back on my years at seminary and in the years that followed, as Karen and I would talk frequently about what we were encountering and how we would faithfully serve our people and our church, I am thankful for her witness to Jesus' love in the world for all people, including me. Karen had a wonderfully sarcastic sense of humor. She loved music and would let me tag along to concerts when we lived in Philly of her favorites, introducing me to Dar Williams and many others who I can't remember right now, but not Ani DeFranco, because I was deemed not ready for Ani. As her best friend, Karen Safstrom seems to have collected friends named Karen, wrote, she kept Hallmark and other card companies in business, seeming to find the exact right card for any obscure occasion. And while we have drifted apart in the last few years, as people do, her friendship remains key to my survival at seminary and to my growth as a Jesus follower. She was, to the end, a laborer in the field of the world, working for justice and loving her neighbor. She will be terribly missed, and the world is a little dimmer in her absence. Today I give thanks to God for my friend and fellow laborer, Karen Safstrom.